Okay, hello and welcome to today's event, everyone. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com. Thanks for joining. I am joined today by Kai Tran. He's CEO at WithoutWire, and he is here for a new session on the future of work in the supply chain and what it means for companies who work with Dynamics ERP solutions. As we get started, please know that you can add your feedback and ask questions using the Q&A block or the chat that you should see to the right of the webcast session here. Kai will be leaving time at the end for questions. And also, please do be on the lookout for a couple of poll questions that we're going to be running. I'm actually going to open up the first of those now and just get some initial feedback as Kai gets ready to begin here. Without further delay, please allow me to welcome Kai Tran to start things off.
Thanks, Jason. Well, good afternoon to everybody out there. Hopefully we'll have a very interactive session today. As Jason just indicated, we'll be doing a couple of polls throughout the session really to understand where you're at in your journey with Dynamics ERP, and as we focus more and more into the agenda about business and technology trends, we'll talk through the implications of those trends to your business and to the industry in general, and then we'll end the session with how Microsoft Dynamics and our company WithoutWire are delivering on these new expectations. So feel free to type away on the Q&A. We'll have a brief intermission to answer any questions that might come up during the first half of it. So again, thanks for joining us. So this is Marco Perisic. He's the Microsoft Dynamics 365 General Manager. And in a recent article in the Report magazine, he talks about instant access to information. He says here, customers today are very informed buyers. They have instant access to information about the products and services they're buying, and they can try them out in seconds. He also makes the statement that customers are not being hunted and that they have become the hunters. Now, this is a key shift that most companies are not taking serious enough, we believe. So we'll talk about both of these remarks throughout this session. So let's dive into the technology trends in supply chain. We'll focus on three key points: the next workforce that's coming into play, the consumerization of technology, and the simplification of complexity, and of course the implications that each of those bring into our industry. But before we get into that, I want to offer you a perspective on what we believe the future looks like. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the past. Back then, work was a place, a thing you went to, an office if you were important. Back then, work was also defined as a time. Worked when you got into the office, and when you left, done until the next day. The work tools were a terminal and later became a desktop computer or a laptop if you were really important. And then from a communication voice perspective, you probably had a desk phone, and if you were really important, you got one of those really cool mobile phones way back then. So hold on to that last thought for a moment. The challenges of supply chains. Let's take a look at that model that I just described and apply it specifically to the inventory space, right? Our space. Your office was a storeroom or a warehouse. Your WMS consisted of pencil and paper, and it was hard to know what you really had on hand. You couldn't fulfill certain demand and found yourself writing off unwanted inventory. And then maybe over time you bought a PC to share amongst your employees. And then maybe you graduated to a couple of rugged barcode scanners, and that changed everything for you back then. Well, boy, those were expensive and kludgy, and the maintenance involved. What was the point of all this? Well, it was to get more visibility into your inventory. It was to increase performance and really get better insight into the management of your inventory. And really what we're trying to do is reduce the high cost of IT and the operations around it. What if I were to tell you the answers lie with our next generation workforce, and more specifically, what they have in the palm of their hands? So this next generation workforce, what does it look like? Well, the NIV User Group magazine just recently highlighted Connie Thompson's presentation that she did back in 2015. And in the article called Listening Across Generations, she highlights the following trend. Boomers will begin to retire by the year 2020. There won't be enough Generation Xers to fill that gap. So the millennials will become the dominant workforce by the year 2020. So who are these millennials? And as we take a look at some of the stats across the years, this one's a little bit dated, but we can start to really see the impact of the millennials across the years. And this report says by the end of 2013, there will be more mobile devices on Earth than people. Well, that's happened. It's the year 2016, and there are millions of these smart devices out there. What's even more interesting is that the average age of the first cell phone user is 13. And I don't know about you, but when I was 13, I was still playing with dirt and throwing it at my neighbors. And so this is a huge shift in what they are growing up with and are accustomed to versus us who are currently in the workforce today. This report also went through the platforms, which OS is out there, and this is way back in 2013. So clearly it shows that Android was taking off and continues to take off, and that the iOS, the OS that Apple created is continuing to be a force, but certainly not in the massive quantity that the Android OS has today. What's even more interesting is when they took a poll, they took a survey of the overall satisfaction, the users overwhelmingly said Apple. And why is that? It was the interface. It was the user interface. This generation gap, and here's a little trivia, right, for those of you out there who can connect these two things, right? What does an audio cassette and a Bic pen have in common? It's surprising as you go and ask the people out there in the workforce today, maybe half, maybe more, 70% no, but it is a dwindling population. And so it shows, it tells us that there is a major shift coming, and it's coming very, very quick. And this next generation's basic needs, everybody knows the Maslow's hierarchy, right? The basic human needs. And years ago, people added this layer, internet, at the bottom because they had to be connected. And that's what it was all about, being connected to everything and everybody. What's changed in the last few years is that now, and I don't have this depicted in this chart, but even a base layer of that is apps. Applications that can be used on these mobile devices that need to be connected. And that's a major shift moving into this next generation workforce. So imagine a world now without wires. And this will define everything that we do in our business and in our personal life moving forward. So our need, their need, is driving more and better technology. I don't know about you, but I carry the computing power equivalent to a Cray supercomputer in my pocket for most of every day. It's within my reach, 97% of the day, and right next to me by my bed nightstand at night. So what does that tell us? It tells us that we're now accustomed to having these devices with us every part of our day, both in work and in play. And we aren't accustomed to paying thousands and thousands of dollars, right, for these devices. It's become very consumerized. Everything out there is available to anybody. And there are no safe havens out there for companies now. We can't continue to hide. We can't be putting our head in the sand and pretend this isn't happening, because this disruption is happening. It's easy. It's out there. And the quicker we get behind it, the quicker that we can continue to gain this competitive edge. This background image, I don't know if you can see it well on your screen or not, but this is Amazon's picture of Thanksgiving 2015 during Black Friday weekend. They shipped hundreds of thousands of Kindles that weekend. Hundreds of thousands. And how does that relate to our session today? Well, some of those devices can be used now for inventory purposes. And we're not advocating, we're not saying everybody should throw away their $2,000 rugged barcode scanner. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying, it's about choice. It's about the ability for anybody, any company, any business out there to say, hey, what do I need this device to do? How much can I afford? What are the basic needs that my worker, my next generation workforce has in terms of expectation? And the user experience is key. Back to that infographic, right? It's not good enough to just have a mobile device. They have to be able to use it and love the experience. Take a look at this opportunity that is in front of us, and it's huge, huge. BI Intelligence latest report states that transportation and logistics could be $1 billion for e-commerce, $1 billion. But there's increasing pressure. What will require a change is how we do business. What got us here today will not get us there in the future. So this technology trend, this cloud adoption, and everyone's been talking about cloud for many, many, many years. It's nothing new. How many of you have embraced it? How many of you have put plans, strategy in place to target it? And not just to use it for technology's sake because everybody else is using it, but use it because it can really transform your business. IDC's agenda, the CIO agenda, it is 70% of CIOs will embrace cloud-first strategy this year. And we're almost through this year. We had you do a poll earlier in this session. Jason, can you help us with that, the results?
Yes, I will bring up those results now. And can you see those?
Okay. All right, so as I'm looking at the polling, it looks like 60%. So the question, if you don't, I don't know if it's posted up there, but the question was, will you depend on the cloud for running some key part of your business by the year 2018? And a good majority of you said yes. And the remainder said not sure. And so that's very indicative of the main population out there. Everybody hears about it. Everybody thinks they understand enough about it, but they haven't done the research. They haven't done the legwork to really understand how it could apply in their specific business, in their industry, and what makes their business potentially more competitive. So the implications around this, the implications. So the next generation workforce requires new relevant tools. We just went over that. They have different expectations. They're made up very differently. They have grown up with certain expectations, and they expect companies to have that. They'll have choices when they get into the workforce. So the implications are it will become harder and harder to attract good talent into whatever industry, whatever vertical that you're in. It will become harder. And we have to cater to the millennials. We have to understand what makes them tick. How can we provide not just a company and a business competitive advantage, but how do we maintain the workforce that we need to continue to have this advantage? And the second implication is when we talk about the consumerization of technology, and I can tell you it took me a good day to really say consumerization of technology and let it flow. That's a big mouthful. But as we start to take a look at this, it will reward those who embrace it. And if you don't have plans now, you will want to have plans very soon in terms of how cloud first, mobile first really means in your line of business today. Because the devices, whether they're consumer-based or purpose-built devices, they provide the choices that you will have when it comes to whatever business you're in. But if we're talking supply chain, if we're talking inventory, warehouse management, specifically those devices are the handhelds. Will they be purpose-built devices like Zebra's latest TC8000 Android OS-based engine? Will it be smart devices, smartphones like Android, Samsung, like Apple? Will it be tablet-based that you can put a $20 case and make it semi-rugged? You have the choice depending on functionality and cost as it pertains in your business. Because all of this choice and all these devices that are out there will enable the best user experience for this next generation workforce. They'll be able to download apps very quickly. They'll be able to do quick assessments and evaluation. And as a company, you'll need to create a team internally, an IT team, an ERP team, an inventory solutions team, to really understand what is out there that they will most likely gravitate towards. Then we've also talked about adopting new technology like the cloud. Adopting it is good. Again, using technology for the sake of technology is, probably not the best thing to do. But when it applies specifically to your business and you make it easy to use, that's the best case scenario. And that's where you'll be able to leverage this new technology and be able to scale and grow your business. So take the time, research, understand how it can really transform your business and give you that competitive edge. Because technologies will be able to give you insights to your business to become more agile and make decisions that will impact your company much, much quicker. How can we deliver on these expectations? Microsoft Dynamics, we believe, and I think the industry is in agreement as well, Microsoft Dynamics and WithoutWire will enable this next wave of digital transformation when it comes to their warehouse and inventory management solutions. But before we get into that, I wanted to throw out another poll out there. Jason, I don't know if, there it is. So this one here kind of talks about which technology do you believe will have the biggest impact on your business in 2 years? In 2 years, you think, oh, a lot can change in 2 years. And you're absolutely right. A lot will change in 2 years. But we have to take a look at the technologies today which are driving a lot of the applications and the platforms that companies like Microsoft and WithoutWire and other third-party applications out there, they're using this technology to put more and better technology at your hands. So out of these 4, which ones do you believe will have the biggest impact? And the reason that we're throwing this poll out is because we have to make a decision as a company. WithoutWire, we have to make a decision in terms of what we will put our money and our investments into. And we're not any different than you. You have limited funds, limited resources, limited energy, and you have to be able to pick and choose, roll the dice, take that risk. So it'll be an interesting result at the end of the session. All right, so Microsoft Dynamics, it continues to evolve. Business solutioning is shifting to an app experience. What do I mean by that? In the past, if you had a need for, and I'll talk to my space because I'm intimately aware of it, in the past, if you're looking for a full-featured warehouse management system, you would talk to your reseller, talk to your partners, read up through all the reviews, and then start to engage, and then look at the scope, and then go through maybe 40, 60 hours of scoping to see, does this application give you the process that you currently are using in your warehouse or inventory needs? Right? And so now we're talking weeks and thousands of dollars into it, and then once you select it, now we're talking months and tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars before it's actually in place for you to start to use it. So it's shifting now. And the reason that we think that it's shifting quickly is because what used to be perceived in the past, the app stores like iTunes or Google Play, very low featured. Games, little things, little add-ons here or there, not really business quality. And we're seeing this shift to very high quality, full featured applications that are built specifically for business enterprises that are launched, downloaded, assessed, evaluated from these app stores. And this model of freemium, try before you buy, gives that company, that person, the ability to download the best 3 apps that they think would fit their needs, try it out, delete the 2 that they don't need, and rock and roll with that 3rd one. So it's different. Business solutioning is shifting. Microsoft and the industry fully aware that cloud first, mobile first is the key. And we'll go into a little bit about what Microsoft is doing specifically, but it's not just Microsoft. Microsoft certainly leads the industry in a lot of things, and maybe even cloud first, mobile first strategy. But people are moving very, very quickly. If you're one of the 40% that is not sure if cloud is going to be part of your strategy in the next 2 years, I would urge you, challenge you, to take a look at it now, sooner rather than later. The 3rd bullet point on the screen there is integration and security. It is key. So once you start opening it up, once you start to do all these things, security is key. And no app can stand alone. No app can just do everything that you need. It has to be able to integrate to all the platforms that you need across your enterprise. So we'll talk a little bit more in detail around that as well. Back to Marco's statement about customers becoming the hunters now. Right? Today it's very rare for businesses to believe in app stores and the place to find the enterprise software. Gladwell likes to say the tipping point is coming. Business software is quickly maturing. Blink and you might miss this digital transformation. And here's one of the technologies that Microsoft is using to enable this application development with Power Apps and with Microsoft Flow. This represents a trend. We'll see more. Common data model, it will enable rapid growth. It gives software developers, companies, the ability to share data between platforms, become even more seamless and more secure than ever before. The ability to pop relevant information, surface this tidbit of information wherever it makes sense, regardless of which application the user is in. Another technology that you probably have heard very recently is the launch of Microsoft Dynamics 365. This is big for Microsoft. Sometimes they lead, sometimes they're at the forefront, sometimes they see the industry moving and they quickly make strides, good strides, to make sure that they either become the leader or get there very, very quickly. Dynamics 365 will get them there. And it continues to evolve. It's the continuation of their cloud-first, mobile-first strategy. So Dynamics 365 in and of itself is good. What makes it better and great potentially is by opening up this channel to partner solutions via their app source. They're truly paving the way for digital transformation. And by that I mean, okay, so you think about it now. Here's an application out there that you're running your system on. You're running your company on, ERP systems, financial systems. You're now able to go to the app source, their app store for Dynamics, and pick and choose. Which third-party application, which third-party app do you want to plug in? Click here to install. Well, that works great. I'll continue to use it. Oh, that doesn't work so great. I'll just delete it, try something else. It'll become that easy. No more months and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to find what you need in a custom environment. This is the wave of the future. Another one here from Microsoft, again, simple, powerful, Power BI. In business intelligence platforms, it's nothing new. What is new from a Microsoft perspective is the ability to take this engine and embed it in applications to surface metrics in a meaningful way that, depending on your role, your function within the company, you get to see the stats and the metrics in real time, and then be able to make decisions based on that information and be able to drag and drop and create other charts that will give you more meaningful data along the way. What's really cool about this is, again, it's on any device, desktop, mobile device, tablet. Again, this is cloud first, mobile first strategy. Intelligent integration using Cortana as this intelligence engine. Here's a screenshot. Apologize if the text there is a little bit small, but basically this is the integration across two different cloud systems that they have, Office 365 for the communication side and Dynamics 365 for the back-end systems. And this view is showing the user all the interactions, regardless of where it came from, where it's going to. It centralizes. This is the repository. This is the view that many people don't get today. And to be able to use it very quickly, to be able to enable it and make it relevant in your business is something very new to the industry. This next one here, again, Cortana about machine learning. This one's cool. This one's cool because in this view, it's showing this user the open opportunities. And here's an open opportunity for this client. But on the bottom right in this pie chart, you'll see a little dialog window, and it says, needs to restock their supply, product blah, 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 will purchase at least 25 to 50. This is predictive behavior. This is something that we don't have today. This is injecting a whole new level of insight into your business. And again, this might not be relevant in your business, but just imagine if you had this AI engine working for you in the manner that you believe can predict and make your processes become more effective, more efficient, and more productive across your enterprise. All right, so I'll launch into just a very, very quick, what is WithoutWire? Who are we? What do we do? We're 15 years in the making. Where our background was custom development early on, and we very, very quickly gravitated to warehouse management. And we very, very quickly built a good business around custom development for WMS systems that were integrated to Microsoft Dynamics, GP, SL, NAD. And through the years, we decided, well, this is great, but we aren't really doing anything different than the next guy or the next guy. And so a few years ago, we decided, what is the future? And we looked at mobile and how that could really inject new technology for business sake into inventory solutions. So we started to write native code for iOS devices and Android devices back in the day. And I'm happy to announce that earlier this summer, we launched our multi-tenant cloud solution based on our full-featured WMS solution. So this back-end cloud system, which interfaces with your desktop web console, but even more importantly, interfaces to applications that could be downloaded from the app stores like Google Play and iTunes App Store and Amazon's App Store and Zebra's Gallery. All these devices, you'll be able to search WithoutWire, download our application, even go through a very easy setup wizard to get you set up, to try it out. If it works, you can either use it standalone, because we use our own database, a SQL database in the cloud, or using our open APIs, you can write custom connections to your ERP system, whatever that ERP system is. But we also announced just very recently Dynamics integrations from our cloud system to your on-prem or cloud system, whether it's Dynamics. We're going to start off with GP here in the next month, and we'll scale out to NAV and others. So we're giving you choices in terms of how you want to use our system. Here's a case study. I'll go through it pretty quick here, but Cooper's Hawk Winery and Restaurant, they're a fairly new customer of ours. Earlier this year, they were looking for a cloud-based solution. They were very, very specific, and so they came across us, and we had some good early conversations around. And again, timing-wise, if you recall, this is earlier this year, we had not released our multi-tenant cloud solution yet. So they were on a beta, and they worked through it. And they had a very old ERP system that they knew they were going to replace in 2017, but they hadn't made the decision yet. But they needed an inventory solution now. So they started to use ours because of our ability to have that standalone database in the cloud that they could rely on. They used import-export through a simple Excel CSV file. But they also knew that we would integrate to whatever ERP system that they will choose next year. And just recently, they've chosen Dynamics ERP. And so the ability for them to grow with our system, depending on, or not depending on, whatever ERP system that they would choose in the future, was key to their selection of us for their business requirement. One of the quotes that Dan Beard, who's the director of operations, the recent power outage in their Chicago warehouse, and he called us up afterwards and said, yeah, that really sucked for the rest of the company, but in the warehouse, because we were using the mobile handheld devices and we were cellular connected, things just kept on working. We were continuing to able to scan the barcodes and business as usual. So the ability, the new advantages, the new benefits of having a cloud system, of having mobile devices that are not attached to any particular technology was key as well. So a lot of companies will very quickly and easily share their success stories, like Cooper's Hawk, and we have many of those, and we'd be happy to share more with you. But they may not be as open to sharing some of the pains that they went through to get them there. And we went through a major transformation here in the last year or two. Coming out of a 15-year-old company that basically 95% of the revenue was based on on-premise licensing, support, professional services, implementation, consulting, and then shifting very quickly to a cloud-first, mobile-first strategy was something of a shock to the system. And one of the things that we learned along the way was that when we pushed the reset button and we said to the company, we will now behave like a startup, it created certain expectations from not just me and the management team, but from the workforce. And so we hired younger workers. We hired college interns. We hired this next generation workforce to help us develop this application, this user interface, because this is what people will be using, and we have to make sure that it's relevant to what their experience needs. We partnered with specialized companies. We didn't have the expertise to take our on-premise solution and build it into Azure. So we hired Azure expertise, but even that wasn't enough. And we partnered with a company in Chicago. That's all they do, is provide specialization and consulting for Azure, how to scale beyond the internet as a service, virtual machine type of implementation to a full out, PaaS, platform as a service, so that we can grow as our customer base grows in this multi-tenant world, where it's easier now to go to the Azure portal, click on expand resources, and be able to generate hundreds of more customer databases on a whim. So that made it easier, but it certainly wasn't easy to get to. We embraced a new way of selling. The old way of selling, which we felt we had a good handle on, work with our partner teams, understand their business model, how they were compensated, letting them know where we could inject our specialization of warehouse management, where we can partner up. And that continues, and that's a great source of partnering and relationship building for us and those partners. What we came to realize was that we were missing out on this whole different way of selling. As Marco, customers don't want to be hunted. They won't want to be the hunter now. So we needed to create this presence out there that we didn't have before. And so here we went from our previous company name, Apple, to WithoutWire, really to start this new branding campaign. And it was painful. Customers that knew us from 10 years back as Apple, now who is this? What are they doing? Are they dropping us? I mean, that was painful. If you've not gone through a rebranding process, it can be good, but it will be painful. I can guarantee you that. But as we embraced it, we took a look at different ways to market ourselves. We took a look at, we have limited funds for marketing. Where do we put that? In the traditional ways that we have been doing it before, or in a whole different way? Was it SEO? Was it Google AdWords? Was it, and we ended up doing all of that. Plus, we invested a ton in this digital marketing automation platform. There are a number of them out there. We chose SharpSpring, and there were a lot of growing pains with that platform, and we're still learning to use it effectively. But it's giving us insight to things that we had no visibility into before. Our ability to now track users as they go through the flow, if they downloaded our app, where in the process did they bail? And a lot of that intelligence was really focused on creating this digital platform that we could use. And of course, the financial pressure, changing revenue streams kind of midstream on the flow, again, very challenging, very challenging. So, again, I wanted to kind of relay some of the pain points and describe to you, it isn't easy, and we're certainly nowhere close to being done. But what we can tell you is that it is worth it. Engage with partners, engage with companies that you believe have the ability to get you there. We have to, as an industry, as a society, as a business community, we have to make sure we address this next generation workforce. We have to cater to their needs. And I'm not saying, we're not saying, oh, we have to put them up on this pedestal. That isn't it. But we have to be cognizant of how they will be doing work differently than how we've been doing work. And so this digital transformation, it's key to everybody's not just survival, but a competitive advantage throughout our life cycle. So, and that's it. So I breezed through it. I went pretty quick. I don't know if you had questions along the way, but certainly the Q&A session is open now, and then we can tie back into the poll.
Great. So anyone who is saving any questions, feel free to answer them, to ask them now. We will have some time here. And yeah, Kai, do you want us to bring up the second poll results here? We can do that now.
Yeah, let's do that now.
All right. So that was on the question of which technology do you believe will have the biggest impact on businesses by the year 2018?
Well, looking at the results, Jason, it looks like I convinced everybody on this, that apps and mobile is the way to go, right? I mean, I'm glad everybody agrees with me because that makes my job easier. But no, seriously, it is very telling. And again, this represents what we have seen out in the industry as well. Apps are no longer that's kind of cool, I don't have time for words with friends. I'm done beating up Candy Crush for now. I have real work to do. That is completely changing. That landscape has changed, and if people out there who are not aware of that change, they will be left behind.
We had a question on, Jason? Yeah, there was a question about cloud uptime and how you manage for I guess for, robust uptime when there are different conditions like power being cut. I think you may have touched on this, but how well can a cloud solution, cloud app, support those
Sure.
kinds of things that come up?
So depending on the power outage and depending on the situation that each company has specific to their environment, the cloud solution, of course, continues to run, whether it's in Microsoft Azure or AWS or whatever environment that the solution is being hosted on, and that uptime is based on that platform itself. And it's not just the platform, but it's how the solution is actually developed. If it's a single instance virtual machine, if that virtual machine takes a hiccup, well, if the cloud itself is fine, but if that virtual machine takes a dump, then, well, I guess you're SOL. However, if you take into account that, okay, if it's developed properly and it's in the cloud has 99.99% uptime, what happens if your facility experiences a power outage? What's cool is these mobile devices have batteries, and these batteries, regardless of what happens in the facility, continue to function. And if you have LT, if you have wireless connectivity in that facility, I'm not talking Wi-Fi, I'm talking LTE, cellular data connectivity, you would still be able to access that cloud solution. And if, for instance, if you had a barcoding application, that barcode will still continue to function, and it will continue to update the inventory management solution in the cloud. Hopefully that addresses the question, Tony.
Great. And another question here concerning the upcoming shift to cloud services. What are implications on Dynamics functional consultants? Will they need additional skills to handle cloud-based ERP implementations?
So we believe that there will be a change in the consulting practice, and it will become more, not less. There are a number of very good consultants specifically around ERP and a smaller subset specifically around WMS and inventory solutions. How that changes in the future when it comes to cloud, a lot of that will be based around not just the on-premise, server-based, OS-based implementation and maintenance and support and upgrades of that. What happens when it is in the cloud, the ERP, the way that it's configured, the way that the process that the company is using the process becomes even more important, not so much the underlying infrastructure. We don't want to create more and more dependency on the IT infrastructure. That was why we went to the cloud. We wanted to reduce our operational costs. We didn't want to have more hardware headaches. Let somebody else take care of that for us. So as ERP consultants, as WMS consultants, now we can really focus on the solution, the business process. How can we take what's out there now and use it for this company in this for these requirements? And in the past, many solutions required a custom development. Here's a base platform. It addresses our needs for 80% of it, and that 20% is going to cost us 100% more, and it's going to take a year to develop. And they were willing to do that because that was the only choice they had. What we're seeing now is the shift to cloud, this base platform, let's just call it Dynamics 365, for example, and it provides for them just, say, 80% of their needs today, and they're looking for that last 10 or 20% for the business process. Well, very soon they'll be able to pick and choose through the app source, Dynamics App Store. Through that app source, the ability to, oh, that's what I need. I'll download that. It's a plug and play. If it works, great. If not, I'll look for something else.
All right, and another question here about how you have addressed security. Security is a huge factor in opening up, or the perception of opening up your business environment to the cloud. It's something that we have wrestled with
over the course of the last 2+ years as we look to shift our implementation from on-prem to the cloud. And we worked with Microsoft. Microsoft, about a year and a half ago, had a beta, had a preview of AD B2C, their authentication using Azure AD, and the ability to connect to other ADs from the cloud. And so we were early adopters of that technology. And when it went into GA, when it went to general availability, we were one of the very first applications in Azure to have a product that relied specifically on that security protocol. So when users download our app and they create a warehouse, a site for themselves, they start using it, the very first thing that we ask is for their login, for them to create a login, and they can use their Microsoft AD authentication, and none of that passes through our system. It is all front-ended by Microsoft. It is all front-ended by their systems, and so we don't even have access to your password. If you want to reset it, there's a link that we provide, but it goes to the Microsoft authentication and password reset screen. So that's one way that companies can really start to rely on much bigger companies to provide those sorts of security protocols. And we believe many, many more companies will start using this technology because it becomes very easy to develop. And Microsoft has, I don't have a slide in this presentation, but Microsoft has probably 50 different security and compliance certifications worldwide as they built out their Azure platform. So if you're going to rely on a company to help you with security, they would certainly be on that short list.
All right, well, I'll make a final call for questions here. I think we're just about at the end of our queue. I want to remind folks of a couple of other just small points. One, please do look for the survey that will pop up after the session today. We really appreciate any feedback on how things went and what you thought of it, both we on the MS Dynamics World side and all of our presenters always appreciate that. Also, if you do want to follow up with Kai or with the WithoutWire team, look for that media viewer block near the bottom of the screen. You can just fill that out to let them know that you'd like a follow-up on whatever topic you care most about. Another question that has come in here related to built-in warehouse management versus third-party. You mentioned a useful case study to understand supply chain with Dynamics GP. How could people get access to that case study?
So we do have a video case study out on our YouTube channel. One of our clients, Combat Medical Systems, we had done that a few years back, and that kind of goes into detail around the integration with GP. And so you can go out to YouTube, search WithoutWire, and one of the top hits should be Combat Medical Systems. And if anybody wants to send me a direct email, I can certainly provide that link or any other information that can help you with understanding what we specialize in and what we can help with your business. My email address is Kai, K-H-A-I, @withoutwire.com. All right.
Okay. Well, we do appear to be at the through all the questions here. Thank you to everyone in the audience for your attention, for all the great questions, and Kai, thanks to you for taking the time today.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.
All right. With that, we will wrap up today's session. We have recorded it. We'll be making that available online soon as well. Thanks, and have a great day, everyone.